To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Today's comics market is ripe with new titles by creators who are determined to get their books into your hands. My name is Onrie. For the last decade, I've been making and selling my own creator-owned comics and dealing as a collector in live sales. My signature series, Yisun Shin, is the book that cannot be defeated in battle and has over 250,000 copies in print. Now I'm taking comics to the next level and laying the groundwork for my fellow creators to get their voices heard so they can connect directly with you. This is your chance to engage live with top comic book talent and get your comics signed without having to wait in long lines or pay any fees. But remember, we only have a limited amount of their books in stock, so always remember to call it as you see it. You're watching Virtual Signings with Onrie, the live event show. It is my sword. Welcome back, everybody. You are watching yet another episode of my head being cut off on Virtual Signings with Onrie, the live event show. It is my sword. My son is sitting here arguing with me. Come here. Come say hi. All right. He can't. He'll come here in a minute. Anyway, guys, we got a great show for you today. I have had a crazy, crazy day. We got a free comic book day event happening tomorrow at my local comic shop. And so I've been running back and forth. And then we just sold off a big set of comics today, so it's been a pretty busy day. So without further ado, I have a guest here who I've been waiting to bring on for quite some time now. His name is Michael Oden, and it is my pleasure to bring him to Virtual Signings with Onrie. So without further ado, Michael, what's up, brother?
Nothing much, man. Thanks so much for having me on.
Dude, tell us all about this. This looks amazing.
So Elysian Fields is a bit of a passion project for me. Obviously, I mean, this is I got into comics for a reason, and it all stemmed from a game that I would play with my friends when I was a kid. I was a huge mythology nut, and so were a lot of the kids that I was with, that I hung out with, and we would always get into these arguments, and you'd have your standard like superhero fair between who would win between so and so and so and so. But with us also being extra nerdy by being mythology freaks, it would also go into things like who would win a fight between Gilgamesh and Achilles, or Heracles and Beowulf, and that always kind of stuck with me as like a fun thing to do. And so then about a year and a half ago. No, a year ago, actually, like a year ago to the week, really. I decided to start my own comic series and have that kind of be the premise. And so Elysian Fields is this epic battle royale tournament in the underworld. Every 1,000 years, every single culture's respective god of death gets a team of champions together to fight in an arena. Winner of the tournament becomes the next lord of the underworld for 1,000 years. And so our story focuses on Achilles, who has, he's died, he's been in his afterlife, and then he gets taken out of his paradise to come fight in this arena alongside other Greek heroes, Theseus and Heracles, against heroes of different pantheons. And so the book that you're holding there, Elysian Fields Pyramid Gambit, is technically the second book that I've done. We had a 0 issue that we funded literally a year ago, and that 0 issue was kind of our prologue that led into this series. And so you start off Elysian Fields Pyramid Gambit, and you're in the middle of a fight between Achilles and Gilgamesh, and we set up our first full round of the tournament where Team Hades is going up against Team Osiris. So make sure. I mean, like it's a pretty fantastic book. I have a great artist, Marcelo Oliveira Costa, who handled all of the line work and the colors of the book, and he did a tremendous job. And we've got our letterer, SK, who's worked on books like Terra Olympus and everything like that. Tremendous guy. And just we have a really great team and a phenomenal book.
Sorry, today is just one of those days. Come here, just come here already.
Dude, it's all good. I've got my little one in the back too.
He's being a little terrorist. He's over here,
hey,
and
it's all good. See, I've got mine.
Oh, you got yours over here. At least yours is quiet. See,
yeah, I've got him. I've got him distracted with the Batman TV show. You want to say hi, James?
Good job.
Can you say hi? Can you wave? Say hi.
Hey.
No. Okay.
That's all right. That's all right, man. You know what? This is what comics is all about. Anybody who's watching right now, this grind here requires us to do anything and everything. And I want to say a couple things now. You've done a wonderful job of pitching your books, by the way. I'm fascinated. And I all these books are signed, by the way, folks. So we got books in hand right now. I have 5 sets of these 2 books. So we're starting with this one, right? This is kind of like our issue 1.
But they're both the same book. They're just 2 different.
Oh, okay, they're 2 different covers. Okay, so
yeah. So the one on the first one that you showed is done. That variant is done by Kevin Sharp. That one. This one is done. That one. This one right here is done by Kevin Sharp and Alonso Espinoza. I found out about them through a book called Dragon Guard, and then I realized that Kevin Sharp was the line artist of Nova during the Annihilation run. And so, like, it was fantastic to work with him on that beautiful cover he did. Just tremendous work. And then the other cover is I did the pencils on it, and then Marcelo inked and colored it.
So you actually penciled this?
Yeah.
Wow. That is incredible. So you wrote, produced, did everything, and drew it for the cover. That's incredible. And so Michael, tell us what are we doing these for?
What are we doing? Like the books?
What are we selling them for right now?
I sold them on the campaign for 20, I believe was the asking price on those.
20 bucks a piece on these?
Yes.
Okay. So folks, anybody who's interested right now, we got this book right here. It's essentially the same book. We got, let's just call this cover A and cover B. Mm-hmm. Anybody who wants this throughout the course of the show, call it as you see it. These books are pre-signed already by Michael. We have them in stock. We got 5 sets available. And here's what I want to start talking with you about. There's not a lot of comics out there that really tackle Greek mythology. But I got into a little bit of a conversation this week with my audience about comics in general. Like we had Falcon and Winter Soldier last week air, and we see the new Captain America and his address to senators and bankers and all that stuff, and he's basically saying what we all want him, what we all want to say, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And when you really look at it, these characters, these superheroes, are the modern gods of today.
They're modern mythology. That's
right.
100% correct.
Absolutely. And to see you bringing about your own story using Greek mythology, I love the fact that you're following Achilles. Achilles is total bad mother freaker. He's he's a phenomenal character. I really love Troy. And so
that's another thing is you're like, so I've read the Iliad more times than I can probably count. It was my bedtime story as a kid. And I'm a huge classicist. When I was going to school, my initial fields of focus were I major in history with a focus on the French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars, and a minor in classics with an emphasis on Homer. So like when I was writing Elysian Fields, and especially when it comes down to these Greek characters, I wanted to portray them as authentic as possible. So the version of Achilles that you see in Elysian Fields is very different than what you see in Troy, because Troy, as much as I love Brad Pitt's fight scenes in the movie, that's about the extent of how accurate they are to Achilles' character. I mean, Achilles is way younger. Like, he went to Troy at the age of 13. Like, he was a kid, and he, when you read the Iliad and everything, he's kind of an arrogant little shit. He's been told that he's been the best warrior, and he's lived up to that mantle since he was 13 years old, and he's like early 20s by the time of the Iliad, because the Trojan War lasted for 10 years, and the Iliad takes place in a span of weeks in the 9th year of the war. So like when you read Elysian Fields, you get this very accurate portrait of these characters, and you get to see just how much more interesting these people are when you're actually sticking true to who they were in the myths. Because that's one of the big things that I have an issue with, is like I go around and I see these sword and sandal flicks, and there's so much quote unquote artistic license taken with these characters, to the point where, from somebody that's read these stories, they're practically unrecognizable. And it's like, these stories have lasted the test of time for a reason. And if you treated them with that respect, people would be blown away by the complexity of characters like Achilles, of characters like Heracles and Theseus, because they aren't what we kind of have come to associate heroes to be. Like, each of them are, in their own ways, embody some form of tragic flaw, or I got my son jumping up and down in the background on my bed.
No, it's fine. I just turned the lights off, and he's saying it's nighttime. But I'm listening to every word you're saying right now, and it's interesting. Let's go back to Achilles for a second, and now my understanding of the history is that the Battle of Troy was all mythological, right? It's not an actual event.
Not necessarily. So here's the deal. There was a city called Troy in what is modern day Turkey. The region was called Ilium by the Greeks and everything, and that's why the Iliad is called the Iliad. There was an actual war that was fought there. We have the archaeological evidence to showcase it, and it in fact is probably one of the first total conflicts that involves an entire region, because you've got weaponry and everything from all over the cultural spectrum that has been found there, from places as far away as Egypt, that have been found at the dig site, and where is believed to be Troy. So the Trojan War happened. However, where we get into the poetica of it is, you have these characters like Achilles, Agamemnon, Odysseus, Hector, Paris, Ajax, all of these characters that, they might have been based on real people or what have you, but you're talking about a story that was passed down through oral traditions for hundreds of years before it was compiled, either by a singular poet by the name of Homer, or by a multitude of different poets acting under that pseudonym, or that Homer ran a school of poets that kind of collected all these stories into one thing. And at the end of the day, it's not that you can contextualize that the Iliad is a historical document. It is a poem. It is a work of fiction about a historical event that did take place. We just don't have facts.
That's fascinating. And so when we look at characters like Achilles, and you were saying that, Troy, they had their take of making Brad Pitt, older and everything. And now my kid's playing with the lights, so he's putting them on and off and on. So he basically runs the place. Like,
I mean, that's what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
he was supposed to be watching a Batman TV show, and now he's jumping around on my bed and making a disaster out of it. See, he's got a look of mischief on his face. Look at that.
He's a handsome young man, just like his dad. He gets his good looks from his dad. But what I was going to say is like this idea of how they created these characters, right? We look at Superman, and there's like the idea of Superman will be Clark Kent, and he will be this, he will be this middle-aged man, wearing glasses, or Bruce Wayne, who will be a middle-aged man but rich, that kind of thing. And you look at all the alter ego identities of these characters, or just in general what they represent and everything. And Achilles being a child, you have to wonder if there was a reason why they were seen that way specifically. And there's always almost like this innocence to it, to the characters, right? The younger they are, or maybe it's why is it so much easier to relate to someone younger than it is to say someone who's older? Because
I think that the big thing with Achilles was so we have to take in consideration here that when those stories were made, the values and thought processes of those societies are very different to how we view and see things now. To a great degree, you have to realize that these classical heroes, at the end of the day, every single one of them has what is called a tragic flaw, a fault that they cannot let go of, that is ultimately the thing that leads to their undoing. For Achilles, that thing is his pride and his anger. Now Achilles does go through a character arc in the Iliad. The whole point of the Iliad is it's a song, it's a poem about Achilles' rage, and at the end of the poem, he lets go of that rage. But like at the end of the day, Achilles was especially in how he's presented in things like the Iliad and the Odyssey and everything like that, is not somebody that you want to embody. And in fact, the whole point of these of stories like that is to capture that excess is not a good thing. Achilles embodies pretty much every trait that Greek society held in value at the time. He's the best warrior of the Greeks. Other thing, like he is a lyricist. He is an he is able to play the lyre with a professional capacity. He is able to he studied under Chiron, so he's adept at the use of medicine. He has all of these things, but at the end of the day, he is also this petulant kid. And he's angry all the time. Like the smallest provocation will set Achilles off. James, please sit down, buddy. Please.
And trust me, folks, if we weren't on the air right now, we'd be yelling at our children and throwing things at them.
100%. He'd be going to his room into timeout if he didn't sit down.
Timeout. I love that.
Sit.
Yeah, Dad will throw you in a closet and turn the lights off and ground you for 3 weeks on top of that. That's what we need you. You're up here. We need you down here.
But James just put himself into timeout.
Well, exactly. Now we're back in timeout.
Bingo.
But the interesting thing is, you're right, and that's what I think works so well about a lot of and let's take it to modern mythology now, in terms of the Marvel characters, is that they all are fatally flawed in their own way with their demeanor. You look at
I would say for the most part, yeah, there are certain characters that were created, like especially we take like Captain America, for instance. When you look at Steve Rogers and everything, he was meant to embody this optimism and everything, and he's supposed to be an embodiment of pure good-hearted optimism, and that was his whole point. Was you had Joe Simon, Jack Kirby, who were first-generation Jewish immigrants to the United States, and they created this character as a way to wage their own war on Hitler before the United States got involved. That was actively the whole point. But when you look at characters like Spider-Man, characters like Tony Stark, all of these other characters, like all of them have flaws, all of them have their imperfections. Peter Parker can't make a good decision to save his life every single time he makes a choice. It blows back on him and blows up in his face. Tony Stark is a war profiteering alcoholic that's constantly backsliding into bad habits. Like every single one of those characters has those kinds of flaws, because the whole point, and this was, when you look at interviews with Stan Lee, as Marvel was starting to really come up, it was, the whole point of Marvel was superheroes with stories that you could see out your window. That was the whole thing.
That was the whole idea.
It was modern fantasy, but it was still like there was that thing where you could look out your window and you could see Peter Parker's daily struggle. You could see Captain America's daily struggle, because that was the thing that was interesting, is when they brought Captain America back, they had him be this. They maintained him as this pillar of moral goodness, thrust into a world of immoral platitudes. And so it's a constant struggle between, will the moral man bend his compass to match these days of accelerated grays, as opposed to his day of contrast, black and white. And the struggle of Captain America becomes not bending that compass, not falling to that, and maintaining his position and being unwavering in the face of an ever-changing world. And that was the beauty of The Man Out of Time. But then when you look at like those, and that's not really a flaw in Steve so much as it's a flaw in the world around him. And that creates the whole thing of, creating an ideal to strive towards was always the thing that Captain America was about. And it's not about anything else other than trying to promote something, and that could be the best representation of us, and that we should all strive to have that character of Steve Rogers, to have that character to do the right thing, and have that integrity to stand by who you are and what you stand for, no matter what the odds.
Well, and that's a beautiful contrast. And we got about a couple minutes before we're going to take a break here. But I want to say, to add to what you were saying just now, you mentioned how Stan saw the idea of the Marvel heroes, at least in Stan and Jack's purview, was you were able to look outside your window and see everything happening. Whereas with the Greek mythology, it was the complete opposite. It was, this was what happened, or this is what is taking place in a different place.
Yeah, there were stories that were passed down. I think that when you look at the big two and what have you, DC is far closer to what the mythological stories of old were. They are constellations in the sky, intangible platitudes that can never truly be achieved, but give us something to want to be, or to not be. Whichever it was. Alexander the Great went and conquered 3/4 of the known world with a copy of the Iliad under his pillow wherever he went. He wanted to be Achilles. He wanted to do those things. At the end of the day, that's the power of a story, is the ability to inspire, or the ability to cause caution. Like everybody knows Hansel and Gretel, and the lesson is, you don't trust strangers. And that's the beauty of
the money, especially Venezuelan bolivars.
Do you want to come up and say hi?
That's the only time you trust me. That's good. You got me. And this is your young man. How old is your young man?
He is 3. Can you say hi?
Hey, so is mine. This is Alon. What's your son's name?
His name is James. Can you say hi, Alon?
Can you say hi to James? No, he can't, folks. He's got the. He's still.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah, your kid's got a future in the spotlight. So well,
he's got long lashes.
Yes, that's right. Mine just likes to inflict harm on his father. He hits me pretty much on a daily basis, and he hits me in between the.
Hey, Alon, James is waving at you.
Can you wave back? It's like, nope, running away. Now he's running away and going into another room. Is that what you're doing? So yeah, once we go into break, we're going to be off for a couple minutes here, and when we come back, I really am interested to hear about why you decided to jump into the greatest platform for modern mythology, comic books, and I want to know about your inspirations and what allowed you to kind of not only find this path with your book, which, by the way, I want to say a couple things about this right before we go on break. You know, these books, guys, they're perfect bound. The stock here is fantastic. Every one of them is signed right here by Mr. Oden. And by the way, I love your last name. And it's a beautifully illustrated book. We're doing we got two different covers here, and this allows you to jump into it. We got Greek mythology. We got Achilles here, and I think this is going to be a phenomenal read. I'm going to tell you this after today's episode. Not only are we going to have Michael back on at some point, but next time we do have Michael back on here, I will actually have time to read his books, and I will.
I look forward to getting your feedback, man. It's always good to hear what people have to say about things, and I've been absolutely blown away by how much positive reception that we've had to Elysian Fields. And if you are looking at reading the Zero issue, we actually do have that up on Webtoon, so you guys can read it for free. The Zero issue for free is up there.
Free comics. That's what it's all about. And what a perfect way to get people enticed with what you're doing. I think that's fantastic. We've wanted to work with Webtoon for a long time, and we've been approached by Tapas Media. But the way we did our files would have required us to redo a lot of stuff, so we had to invest into it. And then COVID happened, and then all of a sudden
these things happen, and we're it's definitely a side of the industry that I'm trying to get into as well. We my imprint, Nine Realms Publishing, we announced our first Webtoon series that'll hopefully be coming this summer, called Errand of the Sable Knight, which is exciting stuff. But I also want to. I also am, trying to grow the Nine Realms platform. So Elysian Fields will be something that we put up, that we update, and give people a chance to read for free through Webtoon as the books progress. So once everybody that's purchased Pyramid Gambit gets their books, and we're getting ready to launch the next campaign, we'll likely start putting up pages from Pyramid Gambit up there.
All right, folks. So I'm going to just reiterate one more time, and then we're going to take we got Elysian Fields right here, and it is awesome stuff. The concept of the story here sounds great. We got signed copies here. I'm going to be pitching this on the Kickin' It show too, and we're going to do it for just $20 right now for each copy. Perfect bound book, totally worth it. Done by this guy. This guy right over here. See, he's trying to get it. Ow! Stop hating. This is abuse, man.
Is that funny?
It is hilarious. And okay, so when we join us in the next half of our show, you did get me. Join us in the next half of the show. We're going to find out why Mr. Oden here decided to make this a comic book series, what his inspirations are, and all those other wonderful things. So stick around, and maybe you'll even see this guy here, hit me and say things
as they are wont to do.
Yes, as they're prone to do. Fatherhood is a beautiful thing. We will see you folks in just a minute. Just hang tight.
I got you. There's a town that lies nestled deep in the Appalachian Mountains in the great American state of Pennsylvania. The name of the town is White Ash. With a town charter dating back to 1714, it's one of the oldest towns in the country. And as you can tell from how hard those smokestacks are puffing, it's also one of the coldest. Thankfully, the people of White Ash have a secret that's dark and very deep. A secret to keeping warm, bituminous coal. From bituminous coal as a product ingredient comes heat, power, transportation, and necessities and luxuries almost beyond count. And where, you might ask, does all that coal come from? The answer is places like Alden Mountain and towns just like White Ash, where it's dug from the mountains by the hardest working men in America, our coal miners. But while an industry supports the town supports the industry. Here are two of White Ash's finest young entrepreneurs, Catlin and Kyle, owners of the Double K gas station. Coming or going, they'll get you there. But a town can't be all work and no play. Hello, Alec. Hello, Lillian. Where are you two kids going? Why, they're going to Sif's. Don't let its Nordic theme fool you. The most popular place in every American town is the local diner, and Sif's is no exception. Home to the world-famous Stack Attack, Sif's have been filling the bellies of White Ashians since 1895. Yes, White Ash, founded by men who came from the four corners of the earth, bringing with them innovation, can-do spirit, and dark, dark secrets.
Today's comics market is ripe with new titles by creators who are determined to get their books into your hands. My name is Onrie Compen. For the last decade, I've been making and selling my own creator-owned comics and dealing as a collector in live sales. My signature series, Yi Sun Shin, is the book that cannot be defeated in battle and has over 250,000 copies in print. Now I'm taking comics to the next level and laying the groundwork for my fellow creators to get their voices heard so they can connect directly with you. This is your chance to engage live with top comic book talent and get your comics signed without having to wait in long lines or pay any fees. But remember, we only have a limited amount of their books in stock, so always remember to call it as you see. You're watching Virtual Signings with Onrie, the live event show.
And we're back. And I got some Peppa Pig to put the little guy, to keep the little guy busy here while I bring back Michael Oden to tell us more about his incredible comic book series, Elysian Fields. Michael, welcome back. Thank you for
It's good to be back.
Yeah, I honestly, I wish that there wasn't so much going on around us, and it's just life. But you know what? I'm so enthralled by the conversation that we've been having, and as I look at your books, I'm becoming more and more of a fan of what you're doing here, and I want to know why comics. Like what? And on top of that, guys, let's remember not just why comics, why creator-owned comics. Like, how did this all come together?
So, growing up, I had two older brothers, and so they got me into things, like Spider-Man, the animated series, X-Men, the animated series, Batman, the animated series. I grew up with it. I got really into comics growing up. It's something that I never really shook. Not that you'd want to. It's a fantastic medium. And, when I deployed 5 or 6 years ago, I got into writing industry, like online industry news and reviews and everything like that. I worked for Movie Pilot for a little bit. Worked for Heroic Hollywood for like 2 weeks, which was an experience. And I got really into doing this, and I got into that side of the industry, the review side of the industry, and kind of talking about, what I liked about how things are being handled, what I would have done personally to do things different, or how I would have fixed things that I didn't like. And after a while, I had been doing this, and I had enough people that I knew going like, why aren't you just doing that professionally? And it was always, oh, it's so much more complicated than just going out there and doing it. And so eventually just got to a point where I had noticed that there was a lot of success going on with crowdfunding on like Indiegogo and Kickstarter and everything like that. And I'd been taking a look at it for a while, and I had sent in a pitch to a big company, and I came very close to getting it. And effectively, it came down to the fact that they just didn't own the printing rights for the character anymore. But if they had still had the printing rights for them, I likely would have had a book. And so I was like, all right, well, if a professional company, would have been willing to bring me on to do this, I should just go out there and make something on my own. And so Elysian Fields, as I said, was this thing that I've been toying around with in my brain for years, just based off of a school game that we nerdy kids would play, just as simple as, who would win in a fight. And so I started cranking the wheel, and I got my premise together, and I went out and I started looking for an artist, and I lucked out with Marcelo. I found him very quickly. He was like the second artist I found, and I loved his art. And the other big thing was, since I was investing out of my own pocket, it was also very nice with him being in Brazil with that exchange rate. It was relatively inexpensive.
He could afford more than a few steak dinners with that budget, and that's what I always hold over my Italian artist Giovanni Timpano said. I'm like, Gio, nobody cares about Italian currency. American currency, that's where it's at, buddy. And
I don't know, the euro is better than the euro has more is worth more still than the US dollar.
Yes, it is. Now. It was. And actually
that exchange rate goes against us at that end.
I know, but I had to convince him otherwise so that he'd get the work done. So that was
what I ended up doing was I got the first book together, and we got a solid amount of support. We ran the campaign for the 0 issue and nearly hit $9,000 with almost 300 backers.
That's amazing for a first campaign. I barely did that. It's really hard, especially when you're not thinking like a mainstream concept. Greek mythology is mainstream. It's as mainstream as you can get, but in terms of comics, it's more niche. So it's really amazing that you had such success.
And then, so when we had that initial success, once I got the funds, we had the book pretty much done by the point that the campaign closed, and so I got the orders to the printer, and then I took what money I had left and I invested it into the next book and got started. And that's just, I want to keep it at a point where I'm constantly putting out more content. Like, we have a campaign for my second IP and first superhero book that's going on right now called The Embrace. And that's been doing really well. We just cleared $11,000 on that yesterday. And so it's constantly one of those things where we're trying to, I want to get it to a point where people can expect 2 to 3 books from me per year if I can manage it, and that's how I want to continue to grow. And, comics provides this medium where you can really explore stuff and really go and do things that you can't do in a lot of other mediums because of how it's this kind of perfect mesh between written literature and visual presentation. And like that's why I went comics. It's just, and that's why I went creator owned, because at the end of the day, why allow somebody else to take credit for my thought processes, my ideas, my creations, and get a slice of that pie when I work my ass off to get them there.
That's really inspiring, man, because it's what I really like hearing is stories of how creators, we don't necessarily do this because it's for the money. We want to make money, of course. That's
it's
not like a thing where you don't do this to bring home money. But at the same time, it's knowing that once you've made one issue, rather than just start to pay yourself, you invest that money into making the next one. That's bold, and that's how you achieve greatness. Now, here's a question for you. Have you taken this book to different comic shops, like for signings or comic conventions for signings and all kinds?
The unfortunate thing is that I got into doing this and getting into this industry right as the pandemic got underway. So I talked to a bunch of local stores in my area. Most of them were like, look, man, if it were different times, we'd totally talk about getting some copies of books in stores. I had one store that made me believe that they were interested in getting the book in the store, and I ended up getting a 30-minute lecture from the owner that was super patronizing, and I will probably never be going back to that store ever again for anything.
So you guys know it wasn't us.
It was not you guys.
Elysian Fields. It's only $20 per book.
Yeah, no, this was a store in Northern Virginia, and the guy literally talked down to me about my price points, told me that he didn't think my books would sell. He condescended my writing style and my artist's work. And he did that for about 30-40 minutes after I had given them a copy of the holofoil version of my Zero issue. I had given them I had tried to schedule this thing 2 or 3 times before, and he had to rain check on me those few times. And so I show up expecting him to make some sort of offer to contribute to the campaign and get some copies of the book in store. And instead I got a 30-minute lecture about how I didn't know what I was doing. And I quite frankly wanted to kick the guy's teeth in. But
well, I got a story to tell you, because I've been in the same position you were. When I was about 3 years into self-publishing Isum Shin, I had sold over 40,000 copies. And at that point, I was starting to feel pretty good about myself. Yeah. It doesn't happen very often that a creator can get out there with their own comic and sell more than a couple thousand copies of their book, if they're 100%. Lucky, right? So, I just been hitting it. In 2013, I hit the convention scene hard, and I sold a lot of books that year. And I didn't just sell books. I sold out at every single convention I went to, and I always set my goals higher and made it harder for myself to do it, and I still kept doing it because I kept pushing myself. Well, despite all of this success, and even having Stan Lee write the forward to my book, I remember going to a Comics Pro event and meeting a dealer over there. And the whole point was for me to meet dealers and to get my books in the comic shops. And I even took out ad space. I did all kinds of stuff. Well, first off, none of the dealers showed any interest at all in what I was doing. And the numbers I gave them really didn't matter at all. Yeah. And one of them went out of their way to basically tell me that my sales would curb at a certain point and that I was at the top of where I was going to be, and that was it. And sure enough, 5 years later, I guess he was right, because now we've got over 250,000 copies in print. So I guess he was right about that. But anybody who's going to waste their time breaking you down for 30 to 40 minutes, it's usually either and you don't know what's going on in somebody else's life at the time when they're doing this stuff. People get wrapped up, and they may use you as a way to channel out their frustration and all that stuff. But I can honestly tell you straight up, he's wrong. This is
and that was my whole thing, man. Is he like it would have been one thing if it was just, oh, guy had a bad day. But the other part of this was after talking down to me for that half hour, he then tried to be like, what you need to do is you need to come to our store for one of our events and get a table so that you can connect with our customers. And I just went, oh, so you don't want to buy my books. You want me to pay for a table at one of your events and make me do all the work. Screw you, bud. Sorry.
Yeah. I totally, I think you made the right decision. And I really hope that this doesn't give you a bad impression of what dealing with comic shops is like, because I know so many great comic book dealers out there that are looking for titles like this. And there are fans out there who are, I will sell this. I am not worried. I'm ready to go to battle for this book. This is amazing.
And I appreciate that. And what it comes down to me is, like, I think that there are, you're going to have mixed bags no matter what. But all in all, most comic stores that I interacted with in my local area were pretty upfront, especially since I was a local creator and it was something that they could bring me in to help like promote a book at some point and bring in more books to do like a book signing. Most of them were like, yeah, we would have if things weren't happening the way that they were happening right now, we probably would have helped you out, and then we would have done some sort, like when the book came out, we would have had you in to do a signing event and get some people in. But
Musashi's in this book?
That is for awesome. Like 2 seconds.
It doesn't matter. That's the 2 seconds all Musashi needs, man. No, that's awesome. By the way, as I'm looking through this, guys, there are character descriptions in the back, and you guys will know a lot of these characters, and it's kind of cool because it reminds me of, like, you know what this kind of reminds me of as I'm looking at it? It reminds me of Mortal Kombat, but with, like, you know, these
so one of the guys that reviewed the book called it a love child between Conan the Barbarian and Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
And so when I did the 0 issue, yeah,
I love that spread, by the way. That's a beautiful double pager right there.
So when I did the 0 issue, one of the things that I did get some criticism for was like, hey, I've never read any of the mythology or the stories behind these. I had no idea who these guys are, and I was very lost because of X, Y, and Z. And so what I decided to do with Pyramid Gambit is I have it, and this will be from here on out. There's a character glossary at the back of the book that tells you, like, hey, this is who this person is. This is the story that they came from, and this, and if they have an overarching point that they play, part that they play to the story, you get a little bit of a tease to that as well. So, yeah, like, you know,
that's awesome. Keep going. I'm sorry, Michael.
No, I was just gonna say, like, so, like, when you look at Team Hades' character bios, there is, you know, you get to know a little bit about them as and what myths they're coming from, but there's also little hints to, oh yeah, that part is one of my favorite parts of this book. But you get to a little bit of a tease of the stuff that I have planned for them throughout the series.
I just, guys, I'm telling you, this is just something. I'm enthralled and pulled into everything. Now we got about 9 minutes left for our show, and I came across this, and I was wondering if you could tell us about this. So are you a Marine?
No, so I was Army National Guard. I served as an 11 Bravo for 6 years. And in high school, I went to Valley Forge Military Academy. And James, can you please be quiet for just a sec? Thank you. Anyways, so my senior year, I was in a class for AP European History with Major Tynan. And Major Tynan is the guy that this book is dedicated to. He passed away last year of COVID. And it was really rough because I was literally when I found out, I had just sent him a digital copy of Elysian Fields for him to read. And you know, he like, while we didn't like talk like all the time, usually when I sent him a message, I'd hear back from him within like an hour or two. And so I went to his social media page and I found out that he had passed away. And so I decided that I wanted to dedicate the book to him. He was, for a long time, I wanted to be a history teacher, and he's the reason why. He taught. I've always been a big history buff and everything, but I think Major Tynan was the person that really got me to understand the true importance of the pursuit of history and everything. And you know, when I found out that, you know, he was gone, it was something that with what Elysian Fields is, I couldn't think of a better way to pay tribute to this guy that played such a pivotal role in my life. And we have that tribute to him. And I also wrote a story about the first day of class that I had with him. That's the page right before it. Yeah.
You guys are getting a lot in this book here for the value. And how many art pages, how many story pages?
54 pages of story.
So 54 pages of story, perfect bound book for $20. Plus you learn a little bit more about what inspired Mr. Oden here. And I'm sorry, I hope I didn't bring out any kind of emotions.
You're all good. I processed it. He was an older gentleman when he was my teacher, and he had always had like up and down health. So like when I found out, like, it sucked, but I wasn't like super like, without sounding like a terrible human being, I wasn't super surprised. It hit hard. It's like, you know, when somebody that has that kind of an influence on you passes away, it becomes this whole thing of, wow, they're really no longer here. They're not somebody that can go, they're no longer there for me to go to and ask for advice or guidance or anything like that. And you know, Major Tynan is probably the greatest teacher I've ever had, and he is sorely missed. And you know, without him, this book wouldn't be here.
I'm sure he would be extremely impressed and proud of what you've done with this, because I think we need more stuff like this. And, you know, you and I truly are cut from the same cloth, because, you know, what I've done with Eastern Chin. Ow!
What did he get you with?
Something.
Did he just stab you?
Yes. He took a toy and then he just like smacked it and then just like dug it in really, really deep.
Oh my God.
It's all right, because his dad has a tremendous tolerance to pain. Buy Elysian Fields and find other people who have an incredibly high tolerance to pain, except for the people that don't, who end up losing limbs and getting cut up. Ow, ow, ow. So we got 5 minutes left. And so far, you've had to face challenges. Ow! Ow! All right. So far, he's laughing. It's funny. Ow! All right, but anyway, you've had to face challenges with making a book during the COVID period, losing your mentor, getting told by shops that they can't stock your books, let alone, you know, you got shops that are lecturing you. I've seen you go through so much with this book, Michael, in the little time that I've known you, and I hate the fact that this is how we are introduced. I wish I had more time to get acquainted with your work, and I will bring you back. This is only the beginning. This is sort of like our introduction to what you're doing here today. And the next time I have you on, we're going to have a lot more fun, and I think we're going to move a lot more books. And as things start to open up, I just want to let you know this is a book that we're going to be showing off on the Kickin' Show, and a book that I'll be bringing to conventions with me as well once I start going, just to get it out there. Because you know what? I'll tell you this. Anybody who's a fan of Eastern Shin, anybody who's on Michael Oden's Elysian Fields, and Jade, you're 100% right. It's so close you can touch it. You know. Do you have any advice out there for creators who are looking to go through a similar path? We got 3 minutes left. Can you give us just a parting advice to anybody looking to go, who might be going through something similar to what you are right now? And you know, what
you are in more control than you realize. This is a path that is very rewarding, but it is a lot of hard work, and that hard work is up to you. There is no shortcuts. There is no nothing. There is no someone coming on from down high and noticing you and help and giving you any handout or anything like that. And you can't expect it. You have to go out there and you fight for everything that you get. And this industry is the Wild West. And while there are people that want to make sure that you succeed, and that you will meet along the way because of one reason or another, you are the key to your own success. You are not going to be successful unless you go out there and you put in the work.
Unless you can, and while dealing with your kids who are not.
Yeah, mine just.
I will say this: this is a great way to if I had something to hit him back with that wouldn't hurt him. If only I had something. But anyway, let's not talk about that here because we got children here and we love children. Come here, you little cute guy, you. Michael, I want to thank you for coming. There we go. I got you. Come up here. Oh my God, he's so happy. And I think what we're doing here and the message we're sending to our little guys is also important. And I'm very inspired by what you said just now. Get your shirt back on. Stop it.
He has to put his shirt back on too. It's not just me being mean. And Michael, I give you so much credit for everything you're doing. This is the beginning, man. We got less than a minute to go, and I just want to say, you're a kindred spirit here, man, and you're in good company. And I'm going to actually give you a call after we're done here because I got a lot more I want to chat with you about. Yeah, man. Of
and
course.
My shoulder is really, really hurting me now because
I can only imagine.
It's just,
you're getting a lot of abuse over
I'm
there.
getting a lot of love taps tonight from my kid, but that's just to show you guys that writers and artists and creators and dealers, we have thick skin. This is iron skin. We can take the rejection all day. We can take the pain all day long. Yes, you did. All right, so we got 10 seconds left. You watched Virtual Signings with Onrie, the live event show. We got Elysian Fields, Michael Oden here. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Hi, I'm Robert Vendetti, professional comic book writer, and I want you to know about the new Bad Idea comic book series, Tankers. As the world well knows, I'm what's called a method writer. That means before I begin a project, I don't just study the material, So to take a deep dive into the subject, I came to the one place on Earth where I can operate mechanized combat equipment, dig for oil, and shoot dinosaurs. Texas tea, baby! I'm down to the tank! No oil yet? Every second of my immersive research experience guarantees that Tankers is unlike anything you've read from me before. I should know. I've read everything I've ever written. Tankers is about a crack team of mercenaries and mech suits who work for Greenleaf Oil. They get sent back in time to divert the comet that killed the dinosaurs. More dinosaurs in the past means more oil in the present. Who doesn't love that? And with a superstar art team providing breathtaking covers and interiors, Tankers is an action-fueled thrill ride of human versus dinosaur warfare that we can't wait for you to read. So go ahead, order Tankers today. I guarantee I'll be glad you did. As for me, I'll be finishing off these dinosaurs. Extinction Day.